Hello everyone and welcome to the What's New in CustomTools 2025 webinar. I expect this one to be just about 20 minutes. As usual, this webinar will be recorded and made publicly available via our YouTube channel. At the end, we will have a Q&A session. I am Simo Erkinheimo, Product Manager of CustomTools, and I'm responsible of the CustomTools product development. As my wingman, I have François Simon, our sales manager, answering to your questions in the chat. So the new major version release is always the exciting one, but we also release the last service pack of the previous major at the same time, which would be CustomTools 2024 Service Pack 1. So this is the latest version available for you who do not have the license subscription. If you purchased your CustomTools license after mid-November this year, then your license should also cover CustomTools 2025. You can check that by logging into portal.customtools.info. So this year was a bit exceptional. We only released one service pack. Usually we release between 2 to 5, but this year we had some major internal upgrades both in our systems and our development operations, and that simply consumed all the resources we had. The last service pack never really introduces anything new, but it aims to be as stable version as possible. The only thing we add is the partial support for SolidWorks 2025 files, because also SolidWorks 2024's last service pack can open those files in a limited view-only mode. So this release should be available in our portal next week. And now for the major event. Let's go through all the new features one by one. And the first one is possibility to hide annotations of inserted parts in dimension picking. I couldn't come up with any shorter title, but it makes sense if I just show you what this is. So sometimes you might have a part inserted into a part. If you then use CustomTools dimension property to pick dimensions from the model, by default CustomTools makes all dimensions visible, including the dimensions of the inserted part. And this can be a mess on your screen if your design process involves having skeleton models inserted as parts, as those often can have hundreds of completely unrelated dimensions in the scope of that current design. So I would recommend enabling this new option for those whose design processes involve skeleton modeling. Do not show dimensions of inserted parts for dimension properties. It will make the dimension picking a bit less tedious for that type of modeling. Next up, we have something that is so good that I didn't just want to write that we can convert text into numbers, but that's essentially what this is. However, it's a way harder problem than what it sounds. We have a globally used product, but also you there have often both global systems, local systems, designs coming and going across the borders. And the overall issue with that is that we, the people all over the world, we do not agree how numbers should be written. For example, in UK and US, comma for thousands, dot for decimals. At least Canadian, Danish, Finnish, Swedish, and French have a comma as decimal separator, and thousands are separated with space. The good people of Switzerland might separate thousands with apostrophe, and Spanish and Italian do things completely opposite from UK and US. Also German, but they actually have the first 1,000 separated with a dot and the next ones with space. In India, you might see the first 1,000 separated and then the hundreds separated. So it's really not an easy problem to solve if this text needs to be correctly used in any calculations, such as quantities or unit conversions. So those formats we can now detect, but also these that I guess are a bit more common in real-life design cases, including the special handling of feet inches. Thousands are not often separated in this context of CAD designing, which is why this very problematic case is decided to be interpreted as 1 with 3 decimal precision rather than 1,000. That is just something that is good to know. Now, what we can do with all this? Custom scopes are great for adding things to your BOM that are not designed, such as work phases or non-designed items, property variants, and whatnot additional row entries. Prior to this release, the quantity property for these only supported whole numbers, but now we have this new number format support added for this feature as well. And this of course reflects to export as quantity. And as you can see, all those different number formats are correctly normalized into this invariant decimal format. We also have a BOM quantity property that can affect the model's material quantity in export. And as expected, the same number format capabilities are added for this feature too. So being able to use these fractional BOM quantities was actually one of the triggering requests to this whole number format detection thing that I ended up doing here. So we can now deal with numbers very well in our export. So why not? Unit conversions, yes. Quite often we see designs that have inconsistent units for various reasons. So wouldn't it be nice to be able to trust that the BOM export you have as a report or sent to an ERP system actually exports lengths and masses consistently using the configured units regardless of the units used in the designs themselves? Or of course you could also export the same lengths and masses in multiple units. Or you can just use this feature to reformat those numbers to a different decimal or fractional representation. For each export field, you can now define that if the field contains numeric values, those should be considered as length or mass values. Because CustomTools knows the document units for each document, it can now perform those unit conversions for that specific field. And as you can see here, we can even do that with properties that combine multiple values. Like here we have a single combination of picked length dimensions represented in multiple different units and formats. At the bottom are the controls for decimal precision or round to fractions, and also the regional settings for the shown number format in export. You know, those decimal and thousand separator things. In addition to mass and length values, you can also just say that this field contains a number. Those obviously cannot be converted into anything, however, they can be reformatted using those precision and local settings. So the number always comes out from export in the expected format. And this can be very important, for example, for integrations. Now, speaking of integrations, our built-in Business Central integration has now production BOM version support. We already had production BOM support, but in Business Central you can also have versions of the production BOM. And we can now link, for instance, the design revision with a specific version of the production BOM. Business Central integration has also another new feature, allow user to decide whether to ignore or delete ghost lines. Well, ghost line is something that exists in the Business Central BOM, but not in your current design. So it can be a component that was exported previously, but later removed from the design. Or it can be an item that someone just added to the BOM at the Business Central. We have an option to always either delete those lines, which would mean that the cat would be the master of the BOM, or we can just ignore them, which allows then supplementing the BOM at the Business Central. For automation purposes, it always has to be one or the other or a scripted solution. But now also users can override the default decision using the right-click context menu. And now, last but definitely not least. It is hard to come by a cute title for these things, but Weldment Cutting Waste Optimization Report. Let's break that down. In SolidWorks, you can do weldment designs. You select a profile like a square tube of specific size, and then you make it follow a sketch, which depending on the sketch gives you multiple bodies of that selected profile, having different lengths and end angles. So these are 4 cuts made out of that particular square tube. So eventually someone has to get some square tube from the stock or purchase some before measuring and doing the physical cuts out of that. And there will always be some excess square tube left, and that is the waste. And the amount of that waste depends on how well you manage to align those required cuts with the purchased square tube that you can possibly get in multiple different lengths. And this waste optimization is in fact a very hard problem to solve, for which you'd often use a dedicated software. So wouldn't it be nice to get such Weldment cutting waste optimization report from your design with a click of a button? And this is what we introduce now in CustomTools 2025. It is an Excel-based report created with CustomTools Export that collects all the weldments of the entire design, groups them, asks lengths of each relevant stock profile available for you, and generates this report. The report has all the weldments of the design, then a profile picking list or a purchase list, you can think it like that as well, and then an optimized cuts table for each of those picked or purchased profile, describing how that profile should be cut. Lastly, the waste table shows all the reminders of each profile, so you can basically put those still having reasonable length back to the stock. It is designed to be very easy to set up. You choose the export profile type as Weldment cut list report. Define the output path, include detailed weldments, and ensure you have intended assemblies BOM type set. Once you hit OK, the profile fields are automatically added and configured. If you don't have those properties in your profile, also they will be automatically created to the cut list properties. First time you export, you won't have any stock lengths defined in your stock. So you can define them in the export directly by right-clicking red lines and choose Create Missing Profile. You can add up to 4 different lengths for each unique profile type using this dialog. Also, you can define trims of the profile and the width of the blade called curve when cutting it. Once done, that's it. You and your whole team can now export that report of these particular weldment profiles. Whenever a new profile is encountered, that's again a red line for which the Create Missing Profile feature can be used. To further maintain the available stock profiles, you can access the Weldment stock profiles lookup list that is also automatically created and used by this report. So it's very easy to set up. It is also highly customizable and can be overwritten or extended using CustomTools script extensions. It does the optimization pretty well, but it doesn't guarantee the best optimization. Also, it doesn't optimize the angles so that they would be interleaved, at least not in the initial version. The stock profile handling is something you would likely have in your ERP or some other system anyway, so we really didn't want to reinvent that wheel with CustomTools. Instead, we decided to use lookup list, which is a bit of crude solution, but it also allows automatically pulling the real stock from a third-party system using pretty simple SQL queries, as lookup lists already natively support those. Overall, we are not having tons of features here, but we are just providing a simplified solution for this very hard problem. We have intentionally left some things hanging a bit because I want to get your feedback and ideas before taking this thing to the next level. So please use it and let me know how it should be improved. And here's the wrap up of what's new in CustomTools 2025 SP0. Now, both the CustomTools 2024 SP1 and the 25 SP0 are released next week. And we will have 3 service packs for the 2025 release, evenly spread throughout the upcoming year. December 2025 will also be the release month of CustomTools 2026 Service Pack 0. And this was all the content I have for this webinar. On behalf of the whole CustomTools team, thank you very much for joining this webinar and have a nice day.
We are in the life-saving business. We kill your routines before they kill you.